What's up, guys? What's up, guys? Joey Logano interview coming right now. But first, I need you to subscribe and drop a thumbs up and leave a comment on the video. Subscribe, smash that button.
Hey everybody, so as promised, we're three wide with Joey Logano. Joey picks up his 32nd win this weekend in Atlanta, and he just throws this trophy on a shelf behind last year's championship trophy. Just for people who don't know, before Joey got on, he had to shuffle the trophies to make sure they were all getting equal time, which is a flex because I haven't won a trophy since high school baseball. Joey, welcome to the show. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. I just had to make sure the backdrop looked good. I didn't have him in the right place, and I don't know. It felt like it looked better. I'm trying to do it right for you guys.
Absolutely. You don't need to impress us anymore. I'm going to start off with Spider and I had met you for the first time, I believe, in Nashville last year, you and your lovely wife, when at the award ceremony. And at the award ceremony, you gave a great speech, and you'd said 2022 is the year of the 22. That led me to believe that maybe you're going to step aside for Bubba this year. At what point did you say, you know what, fuck Bubba, I'm going for a repeat?
Pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
We had to change our motto, right? It was 22 and 22 last year. This year, it's never enough. It's never enough because we got to combat the old post-championship slump that you hear so much of in sports, right? You got to be able to go against that. And this whole thing starts from Jim Farley. He's the CEO of Ford, and I'm in his office, and after we won the championship, and the first thing he said wasn't congratulations. It wasn't like anything that I expected walking in there. He goes, well, next year probably won't be as good. You won the championship this year. You're probably not as hungry. You're like, I'm like, huh? I'm like, wait a minute. Where are we going with this? And so at that point, we decided never enough was the team motto this year. Got hats and everything. I sent them an email and I said, I'll send you a hat and some trophies. That was it. So that's extra motivation. I'm pretty sure he knew exactly what he was doing when he was saying this because it worked.
If you send some merch over here, we'll be sure to rock it. Let me ask you something, though. As we're doing a weekly podcast and you start to go 5 or 6 weeks into the season and people are like, Joey's still searching for his first win. And they're saying it about everybody else who hasn't won yet, obviously. Is that unfair? Like, is this, it's a long season. Valentine's Day through Thanksgiving is a long season. At what point would you have been, I remember you were airborne in Las Vegas. I took a picture of you actually, leaving the time. So, but at what point would you have said, you know what, Joey, let's buckle down. We got to get a fucking win this year. At what point would it have been like the pressure was on the championship winner from the year before?
Daytona, first race. I mean that's what it is for me. The goal is to win them all, right? Mm-hmm. So you show up to win, and we were in our meetings before we went there, and we're talking about it's been a while, like we need to win. Well, it's been a while. It's been like 6 weeks, like if you count the Clash or whatever, like it's been 6 races since we won. We better figure out how to win, right? And it's just something about like getting that win early in the season, getting that momentum built up, getting into the playoffs, right? Getting that spot locked in there. All those things just really just helps a lot, right? With the team and the momentum and the mentality. And now we can race aggressively, right? It changes the way you head to the racetrack where it's like, man, we don't want to, lose too many points if we get ourselves on our back foot and trying to get into the playoffs. Well, now we can be leading off. Now we can be aggressive. We can be, whether it's strategy or myself behind the wheel, I can make big moves. And if it doesn't work, not the end of the world, right? But it's worth the move to try to win races now.
How are you feeling about your team's efforts, specifically the 22 car? I mean, the first couple races were dominated by Chevys. I know you talked about the Clash, but from Daytona on, it's been all Chevys, and then you break the trend there this weekend. What was your sentiment prior to you winning? How confident were you, and what did it take to really shake that mold of just, like you said, the hangover and the Chevy parade up front?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of changes that were made over the offseason. All the manufacturers got to resubmit their nose, the front ends of their car. And there's a box that NASCAR gives you that you got to be within when it comes to downforce or drag, right? And it's all got to kind of add up to where all the cars are equal, but they're not actually equal. Some cars are better at some tracks than others. And the decisions that we made over the offseason are pretty apparent that we are going to be good at places where there's long straightaways, cars going fast, you're on the gas a lot. So Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta, Michigan, Fontana, like tracks are big tracks with a lot of speed. That's where our cars are probably going to shine the most. And going into Atlanta, we felt like, okay, this is in our wheelhouse. We better take advantage of this opportunity. Not that we're going to not have a chance to win at these other tracks, but it's just going to be harder. And so we got to make sure we're perfect, not only when we have the opportunity to win like we did at Atlanta, but we got to be absolutely perfect when we go to COTA this weekend and all the way through the season. Just the details are mattering so much now as the field keeps getting closer too. Right now we're in the second year with the next gen car, and the field lap time wise is just ridiculously close. So the only way you beat people now is the little things, restarts, strategy, right? Just the making sure your setup is perfect when the race starts. If you're off the first run, you're never going to make it up. Those type of things. We just got to be money all the time.
Does this take the pressure off you then this week? I know you'd said that, you've had the pressure since Daytona, particularly on yourself, but then after getting a win at a track where you should have won, or perhaps should have won, and you go to COTA, to a road course where you're not one of the favorites, obviously, in one of these road course things. Can you play even looser then this week, saying, hey, listen, this isn't a Joey Logano track. I mean, make sure you put a couple of bucks on me when we get to Talladega, but this isn't a Joey, which you would never say but I might. This isn't a Joey Logano track, so I could play fast and loose and kind of have a good time this weekend at COTA. How do you feel going into COTA?
I would never think that way.
Okay.
And I can't afford to think that way, because I've realized that not only myself, but my whole team is better under pressure, right? We are better when the playoffs start. We are better when our back's up against the wall. And as soon as you get relaxed and comfortable and going to the racetrack for fun,
that doesn't happen.
That's when it's game over, right? Like, you can't, like, this isn't for fun anymore, guys. Like, this is not, like, I don't show up to the racetrack to have a good time. I'm there to work and win. That's it. And so it's a maximize whatever we got that weekend and try to get the most out of the day. And is that a good time? No, but it's my job. It's what I get paid to do. It's what countless other people that build the race cars get paid to do. And they're relying on our performance for their bonus, right? Like, their Christmas bonus depends on what we do on the racetrack. And if we go there relaxed and fun and just hanging loose, having a big old time, going to dinner late at night or whatever the heck we do, well, now I'm just kind of screwing over the people that are trying really hard for me, right? Like, that wouldn't be a good team member at that point, is what I'm trying to say. So we keep the pressure on, and I always say to my team, we're the favorites to win every race. I don't care where it's at. If we are prepared and we are 100%, we're the best team out there if we do our jobs.
So you mentioned the team, which brings up an interesting question. Super speedway track, there's always the question of teammates versus, single driver. How, like, at what point is it not a team sport? The broadcast was mentioning, like, some of your teammates and how they might have momentum and be able to swing by you. Were you ever concerned about them doing that? Or were you ever disappointed also in the lack of help you got on the inside line? I know you were kind of, it's seemingly at a disadvantage running the inside line compared to the outside there. And then the broadcast kept mentioning that the Penske car should line up and stay in line more. But it worked out in your favor. What do you think? And I don't know, how much of this is a team sport at these super speedways?
A fair amount is a team sport on the speedways, right? And there's areas where we race, right? And then there's areas where, like, okay, it's best for us to stay in line and try to make it happen. And if you look at the last few laps at Atlanta, right, the last 40 laps or whatever, that green flag run, we all got down to the bottom. We knew the Team Penske cars were the fastest cars on the racetrack. And we knew if we were in the preferred lane, which was the top lane, we did this earlier in the race, we can draw out that lane and no one can even compete with us.
Right.
But we weren't in the front at the time, right? We were kind of back around 15th or so. And so we go down there and we start working together. And all of a sudden we find ourselves at the front row, kind of racing back and forth. And, you know, being down on the bottom pitches the car off. It's like, right, you got to ask more of the car. It's grinding the front tires off of it. You got to lift a little bit more. So it's harder to make that lane work. And the fact that we made it work for as long as it did was pretty impressive. But what ended up happening is the last 10 laps of the race, for 5 laps of the race, it started getting harder and harder to keep the cars close together. Not because we didn't want to or teamwork was going out the window, is that the car's capability wasn't there anymore as the tires were wearing out. And so once we started kind of separating and getting further apart, like you said, that's when we started kind of falling backwards. And it was like, oh, no, this isn't going to work out. Until the very end when I got a push from LaJoie, and that was kind of what sent me in front of Brad.
Talk about that push from LaJoie. What's the etiquette there? Like, I know Corey had said, you know what? I'm hoping that Logano gives me at least a thank you. You got a little push from Bell later on in the thing. So even outside of teammates to get that push, being an Italian guy from Connecticut, you send him a bottle of Chianti. I mean, what's the etiquette on that type of stuff?
I might owe him a ham and cheese sandwich or something, I guess. I don't know. Corey and I grew up together, so there's plenty of jokes that go back and forth. And if we're being honest, Corey has wrecked so many of my side-by-sides over the years and has never paid to fix any of them. So he owed me a few is what I think. And so, well, maybe we'll call it even now after all the stuff he's wrecked of mine over the last 20 years. So,
fair enough.
But yeah, the pushes are, it's part of it, right? And he was able to give me the push I needed. And then off of turn 2, kind of realizing the situation when Brad went and clamped my side and kind of got us up next to the wall, I saw the 20 had a huge run. And was able to back up to him to give him a bigger run. And he actually hit me as a 7-mile-an-hour impact when he hit me. That's how hard he hit the back of my car. And it sent me forward into turn 3, just like we needed to clear them all. So
Joey,
big
I got a
moves all
surprise
happened in the last lap.
Joey, will you unblock me?
Yeah. Do I have you blocked?
Yeah, you have me blocked.
You
I called you Logano.
Oh, yeah. We'll keep you blocked then.
Oh, come on.
Hey, were you wrong? Were you wrong?
Sounds like you're slow.
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it?
I can't see that well. I don't have my glasses on.
Oh, those are trophies from being fast, but whatever.
I don't see anything back there. See you later, Logano.
Big Cat knows very little about racing and very little about speed. You can tell by the size of him. Talk about the race again, though. You and Brad K, with all the fines and suspensions that are being thrown around, right? There's a lot of like nonsense that's happening in and around, and a lot of it's louvers and people parking on the start finish line. And we've seen how a lot of races have gone this year, particularly towards the end of the race, how it gets just a little bit murky. You guys ran such a clean race, and it seemed like there's such a mutual respect between you two former teammates. I know you're saying you're not having a good time necessarily on the on when you're on the racetrack, but when you see Brad K there, is there a different mindset where it's like, this is just plain old racing against a veteran that I'm familiar with? Let's just sort of grind it out.
I mean, Brad and I know each other really, really well, right? Like we were teammates for almost 10 years, right? Like we still hang out with each other. Our wives know each other. Our kids hang out together. Like we know each other really, really well.
You broke his heart. With that said, you did just break his heart, just a couple of days ago.
Well, with that said, when you go on the racetrack and you put a helmet on, all that doesn't matter. None of it doesn't matter. And you can't let it matter. So when we're racing there at the end, like, yeah, we're going to race hard. It's going to be probably aggressive in some moves and stuff like that, right? We've never been perfect around each other, believe me, right? Daytona 500 comes to mind when we ended up in a ball of fire in the same situation. So, you don't know exactly what you're going to be up against all the time. But I do know Brad. I do know his spotter really well. And you kind of understand some of their moves a little bit on what's coming your way. The last thing you want to do is wreck, right? Like when you're that close and you're going to get a solid finish, we want to try to win the race and do everything, but we don't want to end up not even finishing in an Atlanta race. So, I think that was kind of in the both of our minds. Right. I was able to make the move. He tried to block it, but he was already too late. I was already there. And so at that point, it was just a clean game on race from there.
So you mentioned a couple spots where we can expect Penske to have speed, but what is it going to take for you to defend your title? How many more wins can you predict, expect? Is there a number you have in your mind? What do you think it's gonna be look like the task ahead of you if you want to win the Cup championship again?
How many more races do we have?
I knew that. So that's
31?
it. 30, yeah, there's 31. It's exactly
about
what
31 races.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty good. I mean, that's the goal. That's where we're at. Now, obviously, that's probably unachievable, most likely. But the goal is to win every one of them, right? And like I said, that's how we have to approach every weekend. But at this point of the season, right, if you come down a half a notch for me here, but it's trying to score as many, playoff points as we possibly can from winning your stage points. Try to win the regular season points championship, which we're leading right now by 1 point, but we're leading it. So we have a real opportunity to win that. So let's try to focus on getting that, get all the playoff points we can, because that's your cushion when you get in the playoffs, right? Like that's the ability to say, oh no, we had a bad race in one of the rounds, but we have this cushion that keeps us within the hunt, that we don't have our backs up against the wall where we have to win, right? So it's keep the pressure on right now and score as many points. We got to rack them in as many times as we can, right? Because right now, if the regular season ended and the the playoffs started, we only got 6 points, right? Like 6 playoff points. It's not that much. So we gotta keep clicking them in here.
All right, so I'm gonna wrap it up. On top of being a great driver, especially no matter what Big Cat says. Matter of fact, if he calls you Slogano, I'm gonna call him Big Fat. Screw it. You know what I'm saying, Spider?
You've been blocked, Joey. You have every right.
I'm Team Joey right now, right? Better block than Brad K put on him at the end of the race. But on top of being a hell of a, I'm sorry about that. And by the way, I feel terrible for Brad when he went to use the men's room and then Denny Hamlin walks in on him. He's like, Jesus Christ, what do I got to do?
You got to lock the door, bro. Yeah, it's there for a reason.
You have to. But on top of being a great racer, you're also a good person. The Joey Logano Foundation, I know you and your wife do a lot of good things for a lot of people. What's the next thing coming up?
So we got the typical stuff that we do throughout the year to help these organizations that help with foster families, right? What we do a lot of times is pour the fuel on the spark that these organizations already have started, right? Help giving these families and the kids the resources to become a contributing member of society, right? And you can imagine how hard it is, for not only the kids, but the families that are taking in these kids with so much things that have happened in their life and how to handle it all and how to help guide everybody. Like, it's really, really challenging. So we try to lend a helping hand in those situations as much as we can throughout the year. And then we have a fundraiser coming up, which is going to be a ton of fun. It's a country music concert, May 25th at the Coyote Joe's down here in Charlotte. And we're going to have Randy Hauser, we got Lee Bryce, we got Mitchell Tenpenny, we got a bunch of great country music singers that are going to be there. It's going to be a great time. There's still some tickets left. There's not many left, though. They're selling like hotcakes. So it's going to be a lot of fun, a good time. It's our first annual one, so we've already decided we're doing it again because it's going so well so far. So we're looking forward to that and raising some money for these kids. We got so many great supporters with the foundation that really put their hearts on the line here for these kids. So it's a good time for my wife and I to help lead that drive and also shine some light on some of the issues that are going on.
Fantastic. And you heard it here first. Joey Logano guaranteeing a win this weekend in COTA. Joey, you're an absolute gentleman and an even better champion. We hope to talk to you again, and we'll see you at Talladega. That's the next one. Spider and I will be boots on the ground.
Absolutely. Come say hey.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Joey.
See you, Joe.
Keep on racing.